What is up, guys? Pastor John here. Welcome to my channel, Man of God, where we draw closer to Christ to become the men that God desires us to be. Today we're talking about porn and why we can't kick the habit. So I was looking at porn for quite a while in my life, and I had phases where I wanted to quit, and then I would quit for a little bit, maybe like 5 hours, and go back to it, or maybe I could get like up to a week. That was always a big deal. And then eventually I always failed. So you're probably familiar with that cycle if you ever tried to quit that really toxic habit. And the thing is, it's not possible in the long term to remove lust from your heart unless you have two crucial things. And we're going to be talking about those two crucial things today. So the first is you have to realize that every time you whack off, you look at porn, you lust, you just go on Instagram and scroll. I didn't have a Twitter until I just started this YouTube channel, and I started just like scroll trying to find content for this channel. There's a lot of stuff like explicit content on there, so I can't use Twitter anymore. But you know, you're just scrolling, you're feeding your mind, you get dopamine. And that dopamine is very powerful, and your brain wants more and more. St. Augustine, he said, lust indulged became habit, and habit unresisted became necessity. So Augustine, he was kind of a horn dog, and he has a lot of good thoughts on lust. That's in his Confessions book, which is famous. But basically, the point is, when you have these habits, it forms trails in your brain. If you've ever been, hiking and you start to blaze a trail, that means you're forming a new trail. And when you first started to look at this stuff, when you were younger, you started to blaze these paths in your brain. And the more you blaze that trail, you keep going back and back and back. The trail gets more wider, easily accessible, more defined, and it's less and less likely that you're going to blaze a new trail. Especially because the trail that you're on has so much good dopamine pleasure to it. But it's not all pleasurable, right? We all know the feeling of after being done, closing your tabs out and feeling like a piece of crap. So that's the physical side, and it changes your brain. Maybe I'll try to find a picture to put up of like the brain of an addict compared to a healthy brain, and it looks totally different. So that's the first problem. And that problem is probably acknowledged by most people. Most people know about addictions and habits. But the second problem goes with that, and that is the spiritual dimension of porn. So porn is something that is directly against the will of God. When we look at porn or lust, we are not only on a trail that we've made, but we are on the trail with evil, with Satan. Holding his hand, he's guiding us. And when we want to get off the trail, if we're sick of this, we don't want to get more and more into this porn realm because we're starting to look at crazy stuff, we say, whoa, I need to back off. The evil coaxes us to continue on. Let's just keep going, John. Let's keep going. It's all right. You don't want to go out into those woods and start a new trail. It's nice here. The spiritual dimension is something that a lot of people forget. And I just wanted to bring that up today because it's a big deal. So how do we conquer it once and for all? I'm clean over 4 years from looking at it, and I am very thankful. Now, the two things that were necessary for that was, one, realizing I had to make new habits, and two, I needed the help of Christ. I needed the spiritual help. I couldn't do it on my own. When we have Christ, he helps us blaze a new trail. He's in the front. He's got the machete whacking it down, and he's helping bring us off of that well-worn trail with the devil.
Come on! Come on! That's it. Come on! Keep going! Come on! Move it!
Now, you will probably fail. Even after you get baptized, you accept Christ, you're going to go back to that old trail because it's something you're used to. But over time, you realize that old trail is not what it used to be because you've seen the light with Christ now. And the more and more you spend time with Christ, you realize, I don't want to be on this old trail. And Christ, each time that you fall, he's there, he's picking you up, and he's like, let's keep blazing. And eventually it shifts. The new trail with Christ is way better than the old, and you don't want to go back to the old. And that's where you start to get time in of being clean. So, I would go a week at first, and I go a month, and then I get a year, and then it's like, I don't want to break this. I don't want to get back into this. I got this new trail. I'm good to go. So after a year, you're not out of the woods, to use the analogy in this illustration, but it's definitely a lot easier. But we read in Matthew 5:27, you've heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So, right there, are you walking with Satan hand in hand, or are you walking with Christ? Because Christ, if you are a disciple of Christ, Christ says, that's not right. That's against my commands. That is not loving. That's not loving. The only way that we can overcome this is those two things that I talked about combined. So if you are, let's say you're a Christian and you keep praying, oh God, take this from me, and you don't do anything, like you say, oh God, take this from me, and then your habits are the same, well, that's not going to work. But if you are not a Christian and you're like, I'm going to conquer this just by psychology alone, I'm going to read a book, I'm going to use all the tips and tricks, but not factor in the spiritual side, it's not going to work either. You need both. You truly need both. And I'm a firm believer that if you don't have Christ and you did overcome this, like you're a stoic, and you're just like muscling through, white knuckling it, you might have lust elsewhere in your heart. So just a practical recommendation as I end this video. Try to stay clean for 1 month from porn, whacking off. But don't do it on your own. Pray. Start praying. Go a month without porn and go a month with prayer. You need both. I guarantee if you do that for a month, I'm not saying that you'll never fall back to your old habits. That's my daughter. But you will start to see that new trail. You will start to see it. So I really pray that you guys can overcome, and I want to leave you with this blessing. May the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Until next time, guys, God bless.